A sense of unease has been drifting around Ibrox these past days, almost like a cloud folk did not expect to see hanging over the club so soon. The chatter behind the scenes has picked up again, carrying that feeling that something bigger might be brewing. It is as if a door everyone thought was shut has been nudged open, leaving the impression that changes once far from anyone's mind could now be edging closer. With the second half of the campaign not far off, every decision feels heavier, and every internal movement becomes a talking point among supporters and those close to the squad. Because all signs suggest this period could mark a turning point in how Rangers prepare for what is coming. Among the stories stirring recently, one of the most discussed centers around Oscar Cortez, the young Colombian headed to the Spanish second tier with the hope of rediscovering rhythm after his injury-hit spell in Glasgow. It was meant to be a chance to rack up minutes, rebuild confidence, and finally show the qualities the club believed they were investing in. But the reality never matched the plan. His involvement has been minimal, only a small handful of appearances, barely enough to leave a real impression. With every week he spent on the sidelines, the concern grew that instead of developing, his value was slipping away. It is no surprise, then, that talk has emerged about Rangers reassessing that loan as early as the new year. When a young talent is barely kicking a ball, the issue becomes more than a sporting concern. It becomes a strategic one. That is why, inside the club, the idea of bringing him back and finding a new destination where he can genuinely play is being treated with more seriousness. The logic is straightforward. Leaving a promising player idle helps no one. But any change would require all parties to agree, and the Spanish side would also need to reshape their squad to cover his departure. At the same time, another storyline has been gaining momentum, this one involving Nadim Barami. Danny Rowe's arrival brought a fresh perspective to several players, and Barami quickly found himself caught in the middle, not nailed on as a starter, but no longer written off the way it once seemed. His situation is one of those tricky blends of opportunity and uncertainty, where every training session and every minute on the park can shape the direction of his future at the club. The manager has been positive about his attitude and the impact he provides when coming off the bench, something that stood out clearly in the win over Livingston when his energy lifted the whole attacking rhythm. Even so, everyone at Rangers recognizes that the upcoming period will be decisive. The mid-season window could tempt the club to look at offers if they arise, because Barami does not yet have a secure role in the squad. Under the previous coaching staff, he was close to being pushed out entirely, and the managerial change offered him a glimmer of renewed hope. Still, the line between staying and leaving remains incredibly narrow, and everything depends on how he responds to the standards being demanded now. Rowe has made it crystal clear that no one is guaranteed a place, and merit will be the only measure. That approach gives players like Barami a fair shot at proving their worth, but it also creates room for negotiations if the right proposal arrives and aligns with the club's planning. All of this individual uncertainty comes at a time when the wider structure at Rangers is also shifting. Kevin Fell's departure from the sporting director role marked the beginning of another chapter in the club's football operations, a move driven not only by disappointing outcomes, but also by the rising pressure from supporters who want deeper change and a stronger long-term direction. Around Ibrox, There's been a lot of discussion about how this transition should be handled because choosing the right successor is seen as crucial to setting a more stable and efficient path. Several names have been mentioned internally, ranging from familiar faces already within the club's framework to experienced figures from outside. There is curiosity around the idea of someone with past ties returning, but the priority remains finding a proven operator capable of refreshing processes, restoring confidence in recruitment, and pushing the club forward in a competitive way. Those decisions directly influence the first-team squad, transfer plans, and the type of players Rangers will try to attract in the next few windows. And while that search continues, another development caught attention. Jonathan Hunter Barrett, who had been all but confirmed to take over as head of the academy, will no longer be joining Rangers. He was considered an important figure in the planned rebuild of youth development, especially given his long track record in the English system. But after discussions and internal adjustments, he is now staying with Wolves in a different role. His expected arrival was set to support a broader restructuring of the academy, and with this change, Rangers must once again reassess the direction of that department. For now, David McCallum continues in the interim role following the recent changes, with Stevie Smith remaining part of the coaching setup. This ongoing instability within the academy structure has not gone unnoticed by supporters who have long hoped for a more consistent path in developing young talent. Hunter Barrett's departure before even starting adds yet another layer of uncertainty to an area the club has been striving to strengthen. So, while the first-team squad wrestles with important decisions, potential returns, possible exits and openings for those determined to claim their place, the administrative side of the club is simultaneously going through a rebuild that could redefine Rangers over the coming years. Everything is intertwined, and that is exactly what makes this moment so charged with expectation for anyone watching closely what is unfolding at Ibrox. The feeling around Ibrox just now is that every layer of uncertainty seems to peel back another set of questions, and the closer we move to the mid-season window, the more the club is forced to confront decisions that have been simmering for months. Supporters can sense it too. There is a tension in the air, not necessarily negative, but the kind that comes when a club stands at a crossroads, weighing what must be done to lift the level for the remainder of the campaign. The situations involving Oscar Cortez and Nadim Barami are only two examples of a much wider picture, because the reality is that Rangers are preparing for a run of weeks where several moving parts will converge and shape the squad in ways that were not anticipated at the start of the year. The staff behind the scenes know they cannot afford to let this period drift. Every choice must be intentional, whether it involves bringing players back, cutting ties, or identifying those who still have something meaningful to offer under the current management. Inside the training ground, the message has been steady from Danny Rowe. The door is open, but no one will be carried through it. Players have spoken about how the sessions have a sharper edge now, with standards set at a level that demands consistency rather than flashes of effort. Those who have slipped out of the picture know they are being watched closely, and those pushing for more minutes sense there is a genuine chance to climb the ladder if they deliver. This is where the likes of Barami find themselves in a delicate position. For someone in his shoes, the next several matches are not simply another stretch of fixtures. They represent an opportunity to rewrite a story that previously seemed destined to end elsewhere. The coaching staff want to see reliability, not only when he comes off the bench, but in the way he approaches every tactical instruction. If he wants a future at Rangers, the responsibility now lies entirely on his shoulders. Meanwhile, the internal restructuring continues to cast a long shadow over everything happening on the pitch. The departure of Kevin Fell has sparked debates among supporters about the direction of recruitment, long-term planning, and whether the club has learned from recent missteps in the transfer market. There is a growing awareness that the next person brought into that role will carry significant influence over the club's trajectory. Whoever steps into that position will be expected to rebuild trust, improve scouting efficiency, and create a more sustainable pathway for young players transitioning into the senior team. That is why the loss of Jonathan Hunter-Barrett feels like more than a simple administrative setback. His experience in youth development was hoped to be a building block for a refreshed academy system, one that could finally bridge the long-standing gap between potential and first-team readiness. Supporters know too well that the academy has struggled in recent years to produce players ready to compete consistently at the highest level. With modern football demanding not just talent, but tactical intelligence, physical readiness, and the right mentality, the challenge facing Rangers is considerable. The club cannot rely solely on external signings to build a competitive squad. They need a pipeline of young athletes capable of stepping up. That vision looked clearer when Hunter-Barrett was close to joining, and his reversal forces the club to examine once again how they intend to develop that department. The decision to keep David McCallum in the interim role provides continuity, but it also raises the question of whether the club is ready to commit long-term or whether they are waiting for the right figure to emerge amid the ongoing restructuring. All of this feeds into the general mood around Ibrox because fans sense the scale of what the club is trying to rebuild, from the recruitment department to the academy, from loan decisions to evaluating fringe players. Everything now feels interconnected. Even small decisions ripple outward, shaping the landscape the manager will inherit across the next several windows. Danny Rowe is aware of this dynamic and has approached the situation with a balance of caution and determination. His intention is clear: to form a squad that reflects his philosophy, one that plays with intensity, precision, and a level of tactical understanding that can stand up to the demands of competing on multiple fronts. That takes time, and it takes clarity from every department feeding into the first team. As Rangers prepare for the next run of fixtures, these stories hanging around the club only intensify the scrutiny on those trying to cement their place. Players know they are being evaluated not only for their performances on the pitch, but for their mentality in training and their ability to adapt to a system that demands full commitment. The coaching staff continue to emphasize that this is not a moment to hide. It is a moment for those who believe they have a future at the club to show it. For Barami, this means proving that his recent bright moments are not isolated flashes. For Cortez, it may mean returning to Glasgow sooner than expected and restarting his journey in a setting that pushes him rather than sidelines him. For others, it may mean accepting that their time is coming to an end and that the club will move forward without them. The sense of transition is not limited to individuals. Even inside the boardroom, conversations are being shaped by the desire for a stronger organizational identity. Every week brings new discussions about long-term planning, about scouting priorities, about whether the club is ready to take a more assertive approach in the transfer market, or whether patience will be required to rebuild step by step. Rangers have often been at their strongest when the footballing and administrative sides work in harmony, and that is exactly what Rowe and the leadership want to re-establish. They want a unified structure, one where decisions complement the manager's vision rather than creating contradictions that become difficult to fix later. As these parallel stories continue to develop, the supporter's perspective becomes even more essential. Ibrox has always been a place where expectations are high and where patience can be thin when results or planning do not match the level supporters demand. The team's performances in the second half of the season will play a significant role in determining how much leeway the club receives as it rebuilds, but supporters also recognize that meaningful progress often comes through periods like this, where difficult choices must be made and where the path forward might not yet be entirely clear. The identity of the squad, the players who stay, the ones who leave, the way the academy is shaped, and the appointment of a new sporting leader, all of these threads are woven together, each influencing the future Rangers are trying to build. And so, as the club moves deeper into this crucial phase, it becomes increasingly clear that this moment is not defined by a single storyline, but by a collection of decisions, transitions, and opportunities that together form the blueprint of what comes next at Ibrox. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. Whispers have been swirling round Ibrox since dawn, but the latest murmur has fairly set tongues wagging. In the belly of the training ground, where folks say tempers can flare quicker than a Highland gale, Jack Butland was allegedly overheard muttering a line that's now echoing through every pub and supporters' bus in Glasgow. He'll no play for Rangers ever again. Nobody's putting their name to the story just yet, but the rumour's grown legs fast. Some claim it came after a sharp exchange behind closed doors. Others hint at a simmering frustration that's been bubbling for weeks. The dressing room, usually tight as a drum, suddenly feels like a place where glances linger a wee bit longer and conversations hush when a certain name is mentioned. Supporters are split down the middle. One camp believes Butland, as steady a figure as you'll find between the sticks, would never let such words slip unless something serious had sparked them. The other camp reckons the whole thing is nothing more than mischief, another tale blown up by someone who heard someone who heard someone. In Glasgow, that's often all it takes. Still, there's a strange electricity in the air. You can near feel it when you pass by the stadium, the kind of tension that makes folk check their phones twice, expecting a club statement that never comes. Coaches and players have kept their hides down, saying nout, which of course only sharpens the speculation. Who the unnamed he might be is the talk of every blether. A big personality, a frustrated talent, a simmering feud finally spilling over. Whatever the truth, the whole affair has nudged supporters into that familiar space between dread and excitement. The knowledge that, at Rangers, drama is never more than a stone's throw away. For now, it's all whispers, smoke with nay clear fire. But one thing's certain. Until someone at Ibrox steps forward with clarity, the rumour will keep rolling across the city, gathering speed like a loose ball on a wet pitch. And if Butland really did say it, the fallout might be only just beginning. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.